Let's evaluate some algebraic expressions. The first thing we need to know is what is an algebraic expression? Well, when you were younger, you probably dealt a lot with numerical expressions. Now, our numerical expression is here in the pink. What is it? It's merely a number sentence, right? It has numbers and it has operations. When you move to algebraic expressions, you're adding variables, and that's the only difference between the two. Now remember, when we have an equation, we're going to solve an equation. When we have an expression without any equal signs, we are going to be evaluating. In other words, finding the value once we do all the operations. Now, there is an important thing that you have to remember. If you have something like our first example, 3x plus y minus 4, you cannot evaluate that expression unless you are given the values for x and y. And it will never be the case where you are not given the values. So let's take a look at this one. And there are two basic steps. The first one is you need to substitute your given values for each variable in the expression. And once you do that, you're left with nothing more than a numerical expression, which is what you're familiar with. The other step, and the most important one, is to use your order of operations. And you can use whatever acronym, whatever helps you. We use GEMMA, groupings, exponents, multiplication and multiplication and division, and then finally addition and subtraction. So let's see what we do here. So if x is 5, whenever I see x, I'm going to replace it with 5. And what I'm going to do when I substitute is I am going to put parentheses around the value I substitute. So we're going to have 3 times 5, right, because x is 5, plus 10 is y, minus 4. And now we simply have a numerical expression. We've got our GEMMA. Okay, I have no groupings. The parentheses here just indicates multiplication. No exponents. Multiplication or division. So we're going to do the multiplication. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 10 minus 4. No more multiplication or division. Now I'm going to do addition or subtraction from left to right. First I see addition. 15 plus 10 is 25 minus 4. And am I done? No, I have subtraction. 25 minus 4 is 21, and that is going to be your answer. Okay, let's go on to something that looks a little bit more intimidating, but we do it the same way. First step, substitute. Okay, remember your parentheses. If x equals 3, I'm going to substitute 3, leave that exponent, times negative 4, minus, and then we have to include that negative in the parentheses, negative 4 squared. Okay, and that's especially important when you have negative signs. Okay, let's go through our GEMMA. There are no groupings. Remember, those parentheses are just kind of to keep the signs together and to show that we did our substitution. So no groupings. Exponents, yes, we have a couple. So let's do 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9, times negative 4, minus, now what is negative 4 squared? It's negative 4 times negative 4, And a negative times a negative, whoops, let's use a multiplication dial. Negative 4 times negative 4 is a positive 16. Okay, so I'm subtracting 16. Alrighty, so what, done with exponents. Multiplication or division, we have 9 times negative 4, which is negative 36, minus 16. I have two negatives, done with multiplication and division. I have two negatives that I'm adding together. That's kind of like saying I have 36 negatives plus 16 negatives. Together I have 52 negatives. How do I write 52 negatives? 52 with the minus sign. Okay, and that's our answer. Now let's go to our last example. Okay, so now, do you see that the negative sign is not in the parentheses with the A? What does that mean? That means that I am taking the opposite. This means, a negative sign means a couple of things. It could mean subtraction. It could also mean that you are taking the opposite of what comes after it, right? So if you have negative 8, that means take the opposite of 8, which is negative 8. Okay, so this you can think of as take the opposite of what comes next. Now, what comes next? Well, an exponent only refers to what comes right before it. Okay, so because the negative A is not in parentheses, your base here is just A. So we're going to take the opposite of A squared, which is negative 4 squared, minus 3 times negative 4 times B, which is 2. Okay, so Gemma again. Okay, groupings, no. Exponents, yes. So remember, this is take the opposite. We're going to take the opposite of negative 4 squared, so that's negative 4 times negative 4. Negative times a negative, positive. Okay, so we're taking the opposite of positive 16. And then we're subtracting 3 times negative 4. Okay, because we're done with the exponents. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12 times 2. Okay, more multiplication. We have negative 16 minus, let's see, a negative 12 times 2 is negative 24. Okay, and let's see, we're going to do negative 16 plus 24, right? Because when you subtract a negative, it's positive. So negative 16 plus 24. And that is going to give us, let's see, it's going to give us 8, right? Because when we are adding numbers with different signs, we're going to subtract the absolute value. Okay, 14 minus 6 is 8. And we're going to take the sign of the bigger number. And in this case, the sign is going to be positive because 24 is positive. And that is your answer. And that is evaluating expressions.